Hello, everybody. We have another piece out for you today on YouTube for you. This one's about all the horrible, horrible takes that people have had about this Russia-Ukraine situation. Most of these are just flat out idiocy, like the one on screen right now that we're going to get to. Some of them are calling for no-fly zones, which means war. We've got two elected Republican officials, one of whom is beloved by Democrats, and the other one is Lindsay Graham. So not an especially bright man. We're just gonna talk about all of this stuff, starting with this man right on Steve, Mike McFaul, who was the US ambassador to Ukraine until Trump sacked him. So he went on Rachel Maddow's show, Rachel Maddow being the queen of fear-mongering about the Russians for many years, from nonsense stories about Russiagate to just fear-mongering for as much as she possibly can, often exaggerating what what Putin is doing and flat out making things up, like most of Russiagate was. So we have this piece on screen, which was tweeted out by the Maddow blog, but has since been deleted. So we're going to have to rely on other sources, and we don't have the video for it. But you've got the quote on the screen there, and you've also got just note that they haven't put quotation marks or said Michael or given the name after it. They're tweeting this as a fact. They're saying that it is a fact that Putin is worse than Hitler. So the comment made by former US ambassador to Ukraine is that one difference between Putin and Hitler is that Hitler didn't kill ethnic Germans or German-speaking people. Putin slaughters the very people he said he has come to liberate. Oh my word. First of all, and this is probably the least important point that I'm going to make about this. Don't compare anyone to Hitler. Hitler is the embodiment of evil. Putin, he's a man with many flaws and is certainly an evil actor. He is not the embodiment of all evil, and there is some provocation from the West regarding NATO expansion, stuff like that. So I'm not trying to defend Putin. I think you guys know my opinion on this. I'm never going to try to defend Putin on this. But he's not worse than Hitler. McFaul then tried to sort of go back on this a bit. When it loads. He sort of seemed to apologize for it, but he didn't really understand the point. Actually, no, I'm just going to go back to the other more important points. So he didn't kill ethnic Germans, German-speaking people. What they're saying there is that Jewish people are not German. That is the point that Michael McFaul is making there. He is buying into Hitler's ideology. He is telling you, yeah, these people aren't ethnically German. And yeah, many of them were German-speaking because that's what people from Germany are. So he's buying into Hitler's ideology, which is just a fucking insane thing to do. He's also just totally ignoring the fact that they killed thousands upon thousands upon thousands of disabled people. Disabled people across Germany were slaughtered during the Holocaust. It's just insane, the lack of knowledge that such an important person has. As I'm going to show you in a minute, this guy talks directly to President Zelensky in Ukraine. This guy has so much power, it is unbelievable. So we're just going to go to the next tweet where he says, I made a mistake, I apologize. I will never make comparisons to Hitler again. He's not even noticing the main point here, that he's buying into Hitler's ideology. Without historical analogizing, I'm sorry I can't speak today. I will keep my analysis and comments focused on the present evil, which is Putin. And now moving on. Marianne Williamson, who, swear to God, she had better be president one day. Some of her foreign policy takes are a bit shit, but her heart's in the right place, which is more than I can say for just about anyone else. So she says, with due respect, the problem everybody is upset about is not just your misunderstanding of Hitler. It's your misrepresentation of the Jewish population in Germany. I can't speak. It's a perpetuation of the idea that they were the other, which is exactly what Hitler argued. Please recognise that. McPhail didn't recognise that. Well, he sort of did in that bit at the bottom, but it's just... it hurts me. Just the golden rule for everybody. Don't talk about the Holocaust unless it's strictly related to the Holocaust. Don't compare people to Hitler unless they have the exact same ideology as Hitler. Just basic rules. So, look, much love to Marianne Williamson. She is amazing. He didn't even walk back it properly because he has some dude with an Israel flag and an Israel and Germany flag, which anyone who loves the Israelis at the moment isn't great. So, but given that it's literally an apartheid state, so we've got that going for him. But he said that German Jews escaped to the USA, remain Jews, not Germans. Moved to Auschwitz, remain Jews, not Germans. German Jews are certainly ethnically not Germans. It is so evident. To which Michael McFaul says, "Thank you." This dude literally agrees with it, and I will just say that I've seen screenshots of this. I think he deleted this tweet as well because he's a moron with absolutely no ability to, to own up to his actions. I think I've seen a ratio where there were 32 replies and 2 likes. I'm glad. This is just so brain dead. It's unbelievable. We've got another take here. Oh yeah, I forgot to point out on Michael McFaul's Twitter. McFaul. I don't know how to speak. I'm sorry. I'm really bad with names, so I didn't actually have this bit prepared, but I saw it as I was looking for these tweets, and I thought it was something very much worth a mention. And I'm aware that my computer is very slow. Forgive me for that. But this, I swear to God, this dude, he's just so brain dead. How do you say that Jewish people aren't Jewish? Send more weapons to Ukraine. That will end very well with World War III. Where are we? I think we're still going. I wonder if this guy ever had a go at the Clintons for bombing hospitals, and not just the Clintons, but the Clintons are the obvious example. Like if he had a go at Obama or any Democrat, did he ever go at them for bombing hospitals, which they've done all over the time, all over the place. Let's just keep going. Load. Oh, this is a man who he makes me worry. So here we go. I talked to President Zelensky today. He needs your help. Please do something over small to help Ukrainians in their fight against evil. He's talking to President Zelensky, the Churchill in a t-shirt, the hero of the West, who, he's our golden boy. Crystal Ball over at Breaking Voice did an amazing monologue on this. How our love for Zelensky is blinding us to some of the stupid things he's saying. And the fact that Michael McFaul is talking to him. It hurts me. And I think it will hurt all of us. Moving on to Anders Iceland, who is a German politician. Normally Germans are are actually decent about Hitler because it's been drilled into them. This dude is the fucking worst. But he's obviously not. So here's this tweet that he said, again, trying to compare Hitler to Putin, which is, again, there are a million ways you can talk about how Putin is evil. You don't need to talk about Hitler. Hitler recognized Poland but called for concessions. Putin absurdly claims that Ukraine is not a state. Hitler had left the League of Nations. Putin violates every international law there is. Hitler did not use chemical weapons. Putin is preparing to do so. And, yeah, that's true, but so is Ukraine. Both sides are doing it, which both sides are bad. I can't really have a go with one side without having a go at the other there. But Hitler did not use chemical weapons, as Ken Clipper's sign has highlighted for us. Am I the only person who remembers about gas chambers and shit? Yes, it's true that Hitler refused to use sarin, I think it was, for whatever reason. But he did fucking gas chambers. I know, as I was trying to find this tweet earlier, I saw Sean Spicer said something similar after the chemical weapons attacks in Syria, which we don't know if it was Assad or not. I would like to make that as clear as possible. Aaron Marte has done some great reporting on that. But it's amazing how many Western leaders, these are powerful people, they are leaders, seem to have absolutely no understanding of history, the most important person over the last 100 years in history. And we just seem to have no understanding of them in our leadership whatsoever. It's insane. I think there's another comment that he made that I've got here that was special from... Okay, I've repeatedly claimed that Putin is today's Hitler. For long, it was not accepted to compare Stalin with Hitler, but then Lord Bullock published his outstanding book Hitler and Stalin: Parallel Lives in 1993, and we got a decent comparison. We need to start now with Hitler. With Putin. Hitler and Putin have many similarities. I stay out of their simple backgrounds, but they were both racists, neo-imperialists, anti-democratic, alien to human values, furious and not very rational, though Hitler was fast and Putin was rather slow. Their defining moments were for Hitler the start of World War II against Poland in September 1, 1939, and Putin for the start of World War III. Man's directly saying World War III. Against Ukraine in February 24, 2022. These were two unjustified and unprovoked wars of aggression, the worst international war crime. True. I hope, I don't know, but I really hope this dude said the same thing about Iraq. And it's saying the same thing about Israel. It's saying the same thing about Saudi Arabia and Yemen at the moment. I hope he's just saying all of these stuff. Because if you don't, I'm sorry. Both Hitler and Putin were outrageous racists. Hitler focused on June, Putin on Ukrainians, who Putin also says are ethnically Russian. I don't like, again, oh my word. We know Hitler's deeds. Putin appears to want to kill as many Ukrainians as he can. Don't tell me he won't. Our interest is to stop him from doing that. Hitler had his awful death camps, which you seem to not care about. Putin has showed in action he is comfortable with massive terror bombing campaigns in Grozny and Aleppo. I will just say, I saw one report the other day that was he like there was a report like Putin has done 625 missile strikes in 2 weeks, which is a massive, massive number. Israel did that in Palestine in about 1 day. And this dude, to my knowledge, doesn't care. So again, I'm not defending Putin. I'm simply saying let's have some consistency. Let's go after Putin 100% for his war crimes. Let's also go after American war crimes and Israeli war crimes and Saudi war crimes, and the Taliban's war crimes. All these war crimes we need to go after in equal proportion to how bad they are. And what Israel's doing in Palestine is certainly as bad, if not worse, than this. But we don't care because another great monologue from Crystal Ball the other day regarding Noam Chomsky's book, like where he talked about how the media portrays victims as either unworthy or worthy. The Ukrainians at the moment are worthy victims. Palestinians aren't unworthy in the eyes of the media. So we put all of our focus on the Ukrainians, who we see as worthy victims because we don't like the people oppressing them. But we don't view the Palestinians as worthy because, we're in bed with Israel and whatever. And another example was the people of Afghanistan were unworthy victims for 20 years. Then when the war ended, they were worthy victims for a couple of months, and now they're back to unworthy victims as Biden just starves their country. So, it's a great piece, but from Crystal Ball, and I strongly suggest you check it out. If it was a few weeks ago now. But I think that just applies to this consistency. Every victim is a worthy victim. And I don't think, and just Asland or other similar people are conscious of that fact. Where were we? Hitler had his lawless SA, and Putin has his lawless... I can't say either of those words. Neither could care less about the law. True. Hitler, Goering, and all enriched themselves considerably, but there's no comparison to Putin's kleptocracy. My assessment is that Putin has enriched himself to the tune of $120 billion, which is, half of Elon Musk's net worth, as he receives money and subsidies from the US government, having not paid any tax. Again, I'm not defending Putin. It's just have some consistency, man. Hitler was enchanted with the idea of whatever that word is, as illustrated by Richard Wagner. Putin might be a similar dead ender. Europe could not be free and peaceful until Hitler had died, nor will it be free or peaceful as long as Putin has any power. I think he's now trying to say that someone should assassinate Putin. I think that's what he's trying to say. The conclusion is the West needs to engage fully in Ukraine to stop Putin now and not wait for some futile Pearl Harbor. We don't need Pearl Harbor to be repeated. Okay, now what he is saying is let's do World War III. Let's do a war between a country with 8,000 nuclear weapons and a country with 7,700, I think, nuclear weapons. And see how that ends up. See what could possibly go wrong. Everything could go wrong. Anders Iceland, or whatever his name is, again, I'm not good with names, you are a moron. And I've got so much respect for this dude down the bottom here, who's Zane. I don't know who he is, but he's just said, he's got, even in his profile, he's got all these people who are suffering in the world because of Western actions that we don't care about because they're unworthy victims in the eyes of the mainstream. So, again, credit to Ken Klippenstein for bringing this guy to my attention. He hurts me, man. He hurts me so much. Adam Kinzinger is next. Important to remember about this man is that Democrats are in love with him. Yes, he is officially a Republican, but he's one of these like moderate Republicans who's not moderate at all. He's Dick Cheney, but younger and a bit better looking by the looks of it. But he's Dick Cheney, but in a younger version who doesn't like Trump. He's not some kind of like moderate Republican in the sense that he's not. He's like half looking out for the working man and woman, and half looking out for his corporations. He's not modern. He's not like moderate in that fashion. He's moderate in that he doesn't like Trump, but he agrees with Trump on everything. So here he is saying that Putin is traitorous. Sorry, that Tulsi Gabbard, who has disappointed me. I think she's a bit of a sellout. But, what she's saying here is a fact. So what she's basically saying is that there are 25 plus US-funded biolabs in Ukraine, which, if breached, would release and spread deadly pathogens to the US and the world. We must take action now to prevent disaster. The West and Russia must implement a ceasefire now around these labs until they're secured and pathogens destroyed. What she's saying there is that Russia needs to destroy their weapons, their chemical weapons, and the West needs to destroy theirs. That's not Russian propaganda. The Russians don't normally criticize. The Russian propaganda doesn't normally criticize the Russians. Let's have a look at this video.
Here are the undeniable facts. There are 25 to 30 US-funded biolabs in Ukraine. According to the US government, these biolabs are conducting research on dangerous pathogens. Ukraine is in an active war zone with widespread bombing, artillery, and shelling, and these facilities, even in the best of circumstances, could easily be compromised and release these deadly pathogens. Now, like COVID, these pathogens know no borders. If they are inadvertently or purposely breached or compromised, they will quickly spread all throughout Europe, the United States, and the rest of the world, causing untold suffering and death. So in order to protect the American people, the people of Europe, the people around the world, these labs need to be shut down immediately, and the pathogens that they hold need to be destroyed. Instead of trying to cover this up, the Biden-Harris administration needs to work with Russia, Ukraine, NATO, the UN to immediately implement a ceasefire for all military action in the vicinity of these labs until they're secured and these pathogens are destroyed. In addition to all this, the US funds around 300 biolabs around the world who are engaging in dangerous research, including gain of function, similar to the lab in Wuhan, where COVID-19 may have originated from. Now, after realizing how dangerous and vulnerable these labs are, they should have all been shut down 2 years ago, but they haven't. Now, this is not a partisan political issue. The administration and Congress need to act now for the health and well-being of every American and every person on this planet.
She's not wrong at all. But according to Adam Kinzinger, saying that, these biolabs are bad, apparently that's Russian propaganda. Oh, God. And I would just like to make it clear, this is not the worst thing that Adam Kinzinger has said. We've got another thing on the next slide, which is worse. But this is just like anything that doesn't exactly fit the State Department line is these morons in both the Democrat and Republican Party. They consider it like Russian propaganda. Like if you look through Kinzinger's Twitter feed, he's got like every tweet is pretty much either calling Tulsi Gabbard or Tucker Carlson or whoever a Russian propagandist. Propagandist. I think it's propagandist. And look, there are millions of ways. There are millions of problems with both of those individuals. But to say that, we shouldn't be fighting near these biolabs that if there's a leak, it destroys the world, that's not Russian propaganda. Okay, here we go. And no, actually, here it says Tulsi should go to Russia. You should go to Russia. You're the one trying to send brave men and women to fight in a war. You go, Adam Kinzinger. I want to send whoever, Lindsay Graham, if Joe Biden puts like a no-fly zone or whatever. I want Joe Biden there. I want Kamala Harris there. I want all of these people there. Tulsi Gabbard is an active military member, an active soldier. My God, does Adam Kinzinger need to work on his views, man? Another Kinzinger piece. This is even more painful. Belarus is not in a Warsaw Pact. As Richard Medhurst says below, Richard Medhurst is sort of okay on this stuff. The Warsaw Pact doesn't exist anymore since 3 decades. How are you in Congress and the military and you still don't know this? So, okay, I was actually wrong. I did forget that Adam Kinzinger was in the military as well. So, I'm sorry. Forgive me. Anyway, he says Belarus is not in the Warsaw Congress, is not in the Warsaw, and not in a Warsaw Pact. No one is. Belarus should become a legitimate target by NATO if it is true that the Belarusian military is set to cross the border at 9 p.m. into Ukraine. It's a way to indirectly respond without directly attacking Russia. My man, attacking Belarus is an attack on Russia. It's just like how attacking the UK is effectively an attack on the US. It's like how attacking France is an attack on the UK. This is, oh my fucking God. These people hurt me so much. I'm not, again, if Lukashenko decides to do this, I mean, I already hate the man, but if he decides to do this, I hate him even more. But, oh, fuck. Just because someone does a bad thing doesn't mean you need to do something as bad in response. And what he's saying there is we should go to war against Belarus. War against Belarus, let's be honest, means war against Russia. And I know he's pretending it won't lead to that. It will lead to that. War against Russia, as I've already said, at the very least, hundreds of thousands will die in the conflict, many of them civilians. And even if they're not civilians, those are young men and women fighting in a war that they didn't sign up for. It's morons like Adam Kinzinger who signed up for this war. Oh. These people just hurt me so much. Okay, we've got one more thing here. Lindsay Graham, Republican senator from South Carolina, who ran
South Carolina Senator Lindsey
shut
Graham
up.
joins me now. And Senator,
He ran for president in 2016 and got about 3 votes. He looks like he's aged about 12 years since then. Anyway, he went on this shitty Fox News show. And yeah, and by the way, the story they've got down the bottom, be cautious. Anything that the US military establishment says, take with a grain of salt. Just on the consulate in Iraq being attacked by Iran. Just be cautious about that. Anyway, back to Russia. Let's have a look at what Lindsay Graham says.
South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham joins me now. And Senator, thanks very much for being here. You have been saying throughout this conflict that you are calling for Vladimir Putin to either be arrested or assassinated. Give us your reaction to the events of the morning.
Well, we have industrialized chaos we have chaos on an industrial scale. You've got China saying if you give any weapons to Taiwan, we're coming after you. You've got apparently the Iranians firing at an American base in Erbil. You have Afghanistan becoming a new safe haven for terrorists.
Just about every word he's just said is either true or isn't true or missing context or just okay. Let's start at the back and work our way back to the front. Afghanistan becoming a new safe haven for terrorists. Maybe if you didn't go to war against the country country for 20 years, and maybe if you weren't actively starving the country right now, there wouldn't be so many people in the country wanting to be terrorists against the West. Just a thought that, like, me, if moron 15-year-old can have. I'm sure that used Lindsay Graham, supposedly some kind of intellectual in the Senate who thinks he should be president. If I can have that thought, you can have it. What was next? Iraq attacking Iran. Sorry, Iran attacking the US embassy in Iraq. Again, I don't know if it was Iran. The US State Department said it was, which leads me to believe that it wasn't. I can't trust a word these people say after 20 years. Not even that, like 60-something years of lies, pretty much since Vietnam, since the start of Vietnam and since Cuba. But again, you went to war in Iraq. Why are there still soldiers in Iraq? That is a war that should have been finished. It should never have started. I can't work out for the life of me why there are still soldiers in Iraq. I'm assuming it was the embassy that was hit. Again, the Iran deal was a really interesting story because what happened there is that the US attacked Iran. Well, the US sanctioned Iran, sanctioned like food and medicine. Iran got so desperate that they were like, okay, we're going to give up our nuclear weapons, and in return, please give us our own food and medicine back. The US and the Iran deal said, okay, we'll give you your own money and food and medicine back. In return, we'll have your nukes. Iran followed that deal to the T. Then Trump was elected. The US started sanctioning again. And then a couple of years later, Iran was like, okay, fuck this. We're taking our nukes back. And then Trump turned around and was like, no, why are you doing that? Some kind of like horrible thing. When, like, how dare you breach the deal that we breached 2 years ago and haven't stopped breaching since? These people are just stupid. And China saying that any weapons from the US given to Taiwan is like an act of war or whatever. Of course. Imagine if China put weapons in Mexico. Lindsay Graham would be fuming. He would be demanding war or whatever. That is how China views that. That's how China views it. I'm not defending China. I'm not defending Russia. I'm not defending the Iranians. I'm just saying, just take a breath and try to understand from their perspective and understand why the end game that Lindsay Graham clearly wants, which is war with everyone, understand why that is so dangerous. Let's continue.
And you have, I think, I smell a sellout coming when it comes to the Ukraine. Your last guest mentioned neutrality. Well, here's what I would say that Putin wants. He doesn't want a neutral Ukraine. He wants to eradicate Ukraine. If you don't believe me, listen to him. He gave a speech last year where he talked about not only taking the Ukraine, but Moldova, Georgia, all the regions surrounding Russia to recreate the former Soviet Union. So I will be dead set against any deal that requires the Ukrainian people to recognize half of the Ukraine belongs to Russia by force of arms. And if there's any chemical weapons used by Putin, that would be a war crime, and I would be supportive of a no-fly zone as a response to that. You see war crimes being committed in front of you on television every day, and the Biden administration looks at Putin as a partner for climate change and an Iran deal maker rather than a war criminal. Biden's more...
Oh, my word. This is the thing that annoys me so much. Lindsay Graham can spot a war crime when he wants to. But he won't talk about it in Afghanistan. He won't talk about it in Yemen. He won't talk about it in Palestine. He won't talk about it in Iraq. He won't talk about it in Somalia, wherever. Because at the end of the day, he gets money from whoever. He gets money from Raytheon. He gets money from Lockheed Martin. He gets money from all of these people. And he's not going to worry if his back pockets, like, if it's filling up. He doesn't care about war crimes. He cares that he's not the one committing the war crime. He cares that it's Russia and not the United States that committing the war crimes. This man has never met a war that he didn't like. He's never looked at a war and thought, I think we should stay out of that. What he said there or earlier is also so important. I would be supportive of a no-fly zone. A no-fly zone is not like some kind of like imaginary force field that like it stops all the planes coming in. What it means is that American jets are in the air in Ukraine shooting down any Russian jets. Russian jets are shooting down American jets. That's World War III, Lindsay Graham. The chemical weapons thing again. If Putin uses chemical weapons, I don't know. I don't know what you do. It's obviously a war crime. If the US and Ukraine use chemical weapons from those labs in Ukraine, that's a war crime. Don't do that. You know, this is just so painful. Yeah.
More afraid of Putin losing than he is excited about Ukraine winning.
Also, I forgot to mention, he talked about like Biden sees Putin as a partner for climate change action. Sorry, you would rather not do anything about climate change. You'd rather just be like, fuck it, the world's going to end anyway. Oh, my... You're hurting me. You're hurting me so much.
And let you hear it from me. Victory for Ukraine.
Well, why? Why is this strategy a slow walk in terms of helping Ukraine? Can't the U.S. and NATO allies do more?
Yeah.
Without turning this into World War III?
We could if we had a...
What do you want? Are you saying that we should do a no-fly zone, which leads to planes being shot down, which leads to boots on the ground, which leads to World War III? What do you want? What do you want? I don't know your name, so I can't really ask you by name, but what does Lindsay Graham want? Let's find out.
Well, it's not going to be World War III. You know, this is all...
It will be if US boots are on the ground and US planes are in the sky.
All a bluff. Putin knows that no one wins a nuclear exchange. So if he ordered a preemptive strike...
This man is willing to risk nuclear war. I'm sorry, if there's like a 1% chance of nuclear war happening, that's not a risk I'm willing to take. This man is suggesting, let's just call Putin's bluff. I'm not willing to take that risk about nuclear war. And no sane person should be either.
On the United States, some general would shoot him in the head. I'm calling for the crushing of the Russian economy. Even though our war and fight is not with the Russian people.
Even though our fight is not with the Russian people, we want to destroy them to within an inch of their lives. We want to destroy those people protesting against war in Ukraine. Let's harm them economically. Oh, my man, shut up.
It is with Putin, and the only way this war ends is with Putin either going to jail or be taken out by his own people.
How do you think Putin's looking at this? A US senator who thinks he should be president is calling for me to be assassinated. Think about all the propaganda that this gives Putin the ability to make.
How do you make that happen? You help the Ukrainians. They need MiGs. It is deplorable to me, dishonorable that we would not give 28 fighter jets to the Ukrainians to defend their skies against Russian aggression.
Imagine if Russia gave 28 fighter jets to ISIS or someone. Imagine if they gave 28 fighter jets to Iraq or Afghanistan or one of these enemies. Imagine the explosion that Lindsay Graham would be having.
The Biden administration stopped that transfer. 1 minute they're saying they're not using the planes we have, but if we give them more, it'd be World War III. So what happened is that Putin threatened Biden, and he folded like a cheap suit. Give them the planes. The speech in Poland by the vice president is not an adequate substitute by MiGs going into...
Yeah, it was a fucking terrible speech where she laughs about Ukrainian refugees. I'll give him the credit where he's due. He does know that Kamala Harris is an idiot.
To the Ukraine to help the Ukrainians defend themselves. So I'm all in. I don't want no boots on the ground, no fly zone yet. But if they're chemical weapons,
no fly zone yet, but maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day after that. Let's do it anyway.
Used by Putin, that's a war crime. Then I support a no-fly zone.
Let me get your take on the Israeli component here. Israeli Prime Minister Bennett spoke with Vladimir Putin, spoke with President Zelensky. Yeah. Tell me about the Israel.
Okay, I haven't seen the rest of the interview, but I don't really care. Oh, these people hurt me so much. These absolute morons. Be it Michael McFaul, whatever, Anders Aslon, Adam Kinzinger, Lindsay Graham. I will just say, obviously McFaul, Aslan, Liberals, Kinzinger, Graham, Conservatives. This is a bipartisan effort to be the biggest moron possible. What they're saying is just so stupid. If me, again, a moron 15-year-old, can see through this, I don't know what planet these people are living on that they can't see that. There we have just a tiny proportion of the stupid takes I've seen on Iraq. We've also, not on Iraq, on Russia, Ukraine. Of course, we've also seen Joy Behar complain that she's not going to be able to go on holiday to Italy. Vacation to Italy. We've seen Andrew Yang talk about how America as a leading light means more peace. Someone should tell him a story. We've seen a number of really stupid takes. And, it hurts to watch not just all the war and suffering going on in Ukraine, and I don't want to at all undersell the horrible, horrible situation that the people of Ukraine are in. But, my God, these people are idiots. And the fact that President Zelensky is listening to Michael McFaul, that hurts. That hurts a lot. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, hacksandgirls.com, and click that big red button below. Follow on Twitter if you want, Liam Haxton, or I Publish the Truth, I don't know. Any suggestions, put them down below. Much love to all of you, and good night.